Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Custom Carving and Epoxy UK. Bit of a strange one today, but you all know I'm really into my blooms at the minute. And if you're anything like me, you've got literally probably hundreds of different mica powders. And you still go back to the same safe ones that you know work together every time. And I've had some amazing results recently by doing it randomly. So again, I want to keep doing these blooms because I absolutely love the effect. And what I'm going to do is, I've decided, because I love mixing my micas anyway, to do a bit of a challenge and sort of challenge myself. I've been looking for that iridescent blue. But I wanted to basically go with the flow and find out what colours the blooms want to be, which sounds a little bit bizarre. So the plan is, I know that I'm going to probably keep doing blooms probably once every couple of days as a minimum, if not one a day. So I'm going to randomly close my eyes and pick out, because I still want the white in there, I love the white effect in the blooms, but I'm going to pick out sort of one colour from here, one colour from here at random with my eyes closed, and whatever those colours are, I'm going to use with the white in a bloom. And then once I've used them, I've got a separate cardboard box that I'm going to put them in so that the next time I do it, it's got to be two completely different colours. And I think it's just a fun experiment to see what happens and what we get. So I'm going to completely close my eyes now, and you're going to have to trust me because I'm on my own. And I know that the bowl is here. So I'm going to pick one out of there at random. I'm going to go feel near the bottom. So this is going to be colour number one. I'm not opening my eyes yet because I want to be surprised. And then I'm going to pick a random pot of mica from here. This is colour number two. And they're the two colours that are going to go in the bloom as well as the white. So I'm going to open my eyes now. And we've got almost a turquoisey blue and a light brown. That's interesting because I never use brown, but this looks like it's almost metallic. So that's going to be my colours that are going to go in this bloom, along with my ocean white today. And then once I've used them, as I say, they're going in the box until we've got through all of these different micas and experimented with them. So over to the workshop and let's get this bloom on. So here we go, guys. I'm back at the workstation with those two micas, which I'm going to be using, which is the light brown and almost this aquamarine blue. So just put some light on there. You'll have to ignore this. This is another project I've got going on the side at the minute, which is hopefully going to be that crackle effect. And if it is, well, even if it's not, to be honest, the video will be out tomorrow. So we'll see if we've managed to get that. So just getting gloved up and getting my respirator and everything sorted. Then all I'm going to do, I'm going to be using the T-Expert resin again, which in my last video I did a bit of a review on, and actually I'm really happy with it. And it came out with that stunning bloom last time, so hopefully we'll have a similar effect. I'm not sure how these colours are going to go. So I've got blue, I've got brown, and I'm going to have white obviously as well. So, but whatever came out is what we're going to do, and I'm hoping that by doing this as a bit of an experiment, a bit of fun, if nothing else, I'm going to find some colour combinations that I would have never thought of to actually try if I could actually pick the colours myself. So, and I think it's to get me out of that safety zone, to stop me always picking the same colours, which I think some of us resin artists always do fall into. And again, that light brown, I would have never picked a colour like light brown in a bloom, especially not paired with this turquoisey colour, but we're going to see what it looks like. So stage one is literally, I'm just going to mix up, I know this mould's about 4 ounces, so I'm going to mix up about 4 ounces of this resin, put it in my bubble removal machine, and then we'll be back. And I want this out there as a challenge. Any resin artist, beginner, expert, artist, let's do this together. You know, put a blindfold on, close your eyes, pick 2 random mica powders. The more random, the better. Let's create a 3D bloom. Let's see what effects we can get together. And don't forget, whilst you're here, do me a favor, like and subscribe, put something in comments, give me a thumbs up, and let's grow together. And as you can see, I'm just mixing up that resin. I really like the viscosity of this T-Expert resin now, of getting used to it. It's sort of between low and medium viscosity, I think. And just remember to keep scraping your sides and the bottom when you do this to make sure you've not got any unmixed resin. And guys, do me a favor, if you're liking the channel at all, if you're liking the content, like and subscribe. Put something in comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this experiment. I'm really intrigued as to how this is going to develop over the next few days, weeks and months as to what colour combinations I'm going to come out with. And I think we should get some really interesting effects. And I'm not going to mix them. Those of you that know me know that I like mixing my micas up, but I'm not for this. This is just going to be whatever two colours I pick at random and the white. And interestingly as well, there's some iridescent ones and glow in the dark and neon micas in there as well. So if I pick one of those, that's going to get really interesting. So I just thought it's a great way to be a little bit creative with a little bit of surprise, even for me, so that I don't know what colours I'm going to be using and see what effects we get, you know. But again, just do me a favour, like and subscribe, and I'll see you once this has gone through the debubbler. There we go, guys, and I'm back. It's been through the bubble removal machine. It's been about 10 minutes as well, so I just want to see where the temperature's at. So 31.2 on the top, 29.2 on the bottom. Almost ready. I think when I poured it yesterday, we were at around about 33.7, and it worked out perfect. And that was just luck of the draw, because it's the first time I started working with this T-Expert resin, but it worked. So I'm going to try and go for the same temperature today. It's all about consistency, I think, with blooms. Now for the centre, I'm going to try something a bit different again. So I've got these, which are glow-in-the-dark rocks off of Temu. And I think you normally throw them in your garden or in a plant pot or something like that. But I just wanted to see if I could throw these in a coaster, and if once the resin's on, whether it glows. If it doesn't, I won't be that disappointed. It will still look like nice little white crystals, but I thought it was just something worth trying. Again, in yesterday's bloom that I did, that came out really well, I tried these iridescent rocks from Temu, and they worked really well as a centre. I really love the way they look. But I always like to try new things on the channel. That's what it's all about for me in resin. So, never use this light brown. Don't know what it's going to look like, but also I just wanted to do a shout out to all the other epoxy artists and hobbyists out there. If you want to join me on this challenge, join me, tag me, and it'd be really interesting to see what results we all get as a community, because I think we're going to have some really bizarre combinations, because there are literally thousands of mica colours out there and different brands and everything like that. It's just going to be really interesting as an experiment to see if we can close our eyes, pick two colours, use that with our whatever white you want, and see what blooms come out. You know, we might get some really cool results. We might get some shockers. So that's why I just thought it'd be interesting. And as you can see, I've never used that colour either. So both of these colours are going to be brand new to me. Whenever you're taking the lid off or the foil off your micas as well, try and do it away from your mould, away from your workstation, because mica powders like to get absolutely everywhere. Because they are so light, and that's the thing, you just get clouds of it going absolutely everywhere before you know it. So all I've done so far is I've got my pots ready for those colours. Again, for the white, I'm just going to be using the Ocean White from Let's Resin as well, and just one drop of that. What I tend to do is fill the cups about halfway, then any spare can go into one of my drip molds. At the minute, I'm filling another dragon just because I'm loving the way that they look. I'm going to be moving on to a drip dog soon though, so looking forward to that as well. I think it's a French Bulldog mold. So I think that will look really cool as well. And then I've just got my piping bags ready to pour it into, just because I find I get better control with piping bags. So all I'm going to do now is get these pots ready. Literally one drop of this Ocean White pigment. Remember to give it a shake, because your pigment will settle, and you want it mixed up so it's the right consistency. And I'm just going to put one drop of that in this cup. Try and show you on the camera if I can, but that is all you need. One tiny drop. Sometimes you get a couple of strings coming out, but I don't need that. I just want that one drop. So I've got one drop of the Ocean White, and that is going to be my first colour for my petals. The next one that was randomly picked is this turquoisey, almost aquamarine. So again, your micas go a long way, but you don't want them too heavy in a bloom because they will sink. So literally, that's all I'm going to use. And that's all I'll need, I think, for that mica. And hopefully that doesn't make it too heavy. So that is the first colour. I'm going to put it away in the box as well, so I don't use this again for however long this experiment's running. And I think by doing it that way, we're not going to have repeats of the same colours, and we're going to get some really interesting mixes. Same with the light brown. Now, I'm not saying I won't use these micas in other projects, but in the blooms, no two micas are going to get used again. So it's just about seeing what effects we get from these random ones that I've picked, blindfolded or with my eyes closed as such, and seeing what effects we get. And this is going to be really interesting, this light brown. Doesn't look very light to me, it looks quite dark and it almost looks metallic. But we'll see. Look at that. So again, that is the light brown. Again, I don't think I need all of that, so I'm just going to put some of it back in there. And then that is my light brown, and they're my three colours. The only other thing I'm going to do is I've got some Cinca white, what I use, and I'm just going to add probably 4 drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, into the white pot, just because I've seen somewhere that it might help your bloom spread. Have I noticed a difference, to be honest, since doing it? Probably not. But again, it doesn't hurt to put a few drops in and see if it does make a difference or not. But touch wood, on the last one, I didn't get any blobbing either, so I was really happy with that. There we go, pretty much the same temperature, 34 in fact, so perfect for me. Perfect timing on the base, 31.7. I'm happy with that. So first thing I'm going to do is fill up my colours. About halfway each pot. Again, I never measure it out. I don't weigh it out or anything like that. I don't think you have to be that specific. Half a pot. And then half a pot in that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour the rest straight into the mould, so I can get the bubbles out whilst I'm mixing up those colours. And what I like to do with this one is just go around the edges first to make sure that the edges are all getting some in. And then the rest can just go straight in the middle and hopefully give me a nice sort of thinnish layer. I normally like it about 1/4 centimetre. And again, don't be afraid to just use your stick, get the rest out of the cup because you don't want to waste it. There's no point leaving it in the cup. As long as you've scraped your sides and your bottom, you shouldn't have to worry about unmixed resin. And again, I'm just going to pull it to the sides just to make sure that all of those sides have got that thin layer of resin, which is probably about 1/4 centimetre thick. And I do find that blooms work better on a thin layer than a deep, but you still need to have it at least sort of 1/4 centimetre just to give them chance. If they're a little bit heavier and were likely to blob, it just gives them that chance to sort of settle a tiny bit into your resin. So there we go, that is all of that resin, and I'm just being cautious not to drip any on these hopefully crackle effect coasters at the side, but this is how limited my space is, guys, so apologies. You've got to work with what you've got sometimes. And then before I mix these colours, just going to get my silicone tool and go around the edge of this mould, because this is where bubbles like to sort of sit, especially in the tips on a mould like this. So again, just going around, making sure there's no big bubbles, because the worst thing for me is if you get a really nice bloom effect and then you get loads of air bubbles. It's the last thing that you're going to want, trust me. And there's a little bit of something there, so I'm going to take that out and wipe it off. And again, just looking at the surface now, making sure that it is reasonably level. I don't mind moving it around a little bit myself with the stick. Just be conscious that you're not putting too many bubbles back in there, but I just want it to be a reasonably even surface. And when you do your blooms, always try and make sure that you're on a level surface, or as level as you can, because otherwise they can shift, and that's where you get your problems. So that is that part. Now I'm just going to use my torch, pop any bubbles, he says, and it probably needs refilling. Just going to turn it up a tiny bit, see if that helps. And that should be all of those bubbles popped. So next I'm going to mix the white and get that ready in its piping bag. And so this is just that one drop of the ocean white, which normally is enough for me for about half a cup. And those few drops of white sinker. Don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I've started doing it. And there you can see it's not quite opaque, and that's what you want. You want to still be able to see the stick underneath, and I can just see a tiny, there you go, I can still see the logo of that galaxy underneath. So that for me is perfect. It's starting to feel a little bit warm as well, which tells me that it's probably at the right temperature. So I'm just going to pour that straight into a piping bag at the side. Sorry it's out of view, but as I say, I'm running out of space, and I'll bring it back in view in a second. I'm trying to get all of it out because there's no point leaving it in the cup to cure. And this is going to be really interesting actually, because this is a colour combination I would have never picked. Would you? Let me know in comments. But that's the first one ready. Next one I think is this sort of aquamarine or a bluey colour. So white and blue go together. I'm just not sure about the light brown. And just remember, when you mix your micas, really scrape the sides, because you will have little pockets of mica that won't mix unless you do that. So just remember to do that, and hopefully that way it gets mixed in. Quite a nice colour actually, that one. So I'm glad I found it randomly, and it's one that I haven't used before. So I think that's one of the exciting things for me about this experiment, is I'm going to find new favourites, which I wouldn't have found had I not have done this experiment. So again, just going to pour that straight into the piping bag, all of it in. And there we go. So that is the aquamarine blue. And now for the one that I'm really unsure about what colour it will look like. This light brown, it says on the label, but we all know on labels of mica, the colours that you get often aren't the colours that you actually find when you mix them. I've had some called stone that are actually silver and all sorts, and actually to me this is a really nice colour. It's almost like a brown copper effect, almost metallic as well, interestingly. So I do like the colour, and again it's one I probably wouldn't have opened just because it was called brown, but I love that. So actually I think we're going to get a really nice result here. So just mixing it around and then into my piping bag. And hopefully you'll find that this video is going to be a little bit faster than the usual one. I know some of the videos I've done out there, guys, I've had a few comments, are a little bit long. But do you know what? I think with a step-by-step tutorial, I think it's important that you put all the steps in. That way beginners, newbies, or anybody can just see exactly how you've done it step by step. So I hope you don't mind the longer form content as well as the shorter ones, but I'm planning to do one of these hopefully at least once every couple of days, with a random colour mix like we've done today, just to see what we get. Now with the blooms, I always start with the centre, and actually I haven't left myself any resin, which is a bit of an issue, but there's still a tiny bit in this cup. So I'm just going to pour some of these in and mix them around, because I shouldn't need a lot. It's only for the centre of one. There we go. That is those. And then I'm going to mix them around in that resin just to cover them. I just want to make sure they're covered. It's almost like ice. Smoked, sort of dry ice is what these look like to me. They're probably plastic with them being from Temu. You don't know what you get from Temu sometimes, but again, for the price, I've probably found 50% of the stuff I get is worth it. The other 50% isn't. So again, but for the price, it's often worth experimenting with. So just going to try and get as many of these on the end of my stick as possible, and then just try and get them reasonably central, just in the center of our bloom. And I'm going to need to scrape them off with something. So just going to get another popsicle stick, because that shows me that the resin's already thickening up, which is a good thing. I don't want too many of these in there. I actually think that's enough. So again, just trying to get them central, flattening them out. Any extra, I'm going to throw in my dragon mold, just because, why not? Add a different effect to that drip mold. And then just trying to get these again central, move them around ever so slightly. And I've also found that if you've got something like this as a center, if you've got any slightly heavier blobs in the center, it actually helps you disguise them, because they'll just slightly seep through the cracks, and it kind of prevents that blobbing a little bit in the center. So happy with that. That is going to be my center. Now just give it a torch as well, because by doing that, you're probably going to have introduced new bubbles, new air bubbles, which we don't want. There we go, and you can just about make them out. So next I'm going to go in with the white, and I hope I haven't left it too long this time. But all I do, get the piping bag, squeeze it down. Just be careful you're not squeezing it out the back of the bag, because I've done that before and it goes everywhere. And give it a good twist, and that's it, ready to pipe. And I'm not the best piper, guys, so again, just be aware of that. I don't claim to be the best at piping either, but I managed to get by with this anyway, with this effect. So just going to snip off probably about halfway between the end and the resin. And again, I'm very limited on space, but I'm going to make this work one way or another. And is that something in my resin actually before I pipe? It is. A little bit of cured resin there, I think. And I don't want that in the blue. And you can hear my dog dreaming in the background. Maybe he's dreaming of a resin bloom, who knows. So just going to snip off the end, and then we can start piping. And I'm going to do pretty much the same design as I did yesterday, because I really liked that. And I liked the 3D effect it created. So once you snip off your tip, you should find it naturally flows out the bag anyway, which this is, so that's great. And what I like to do with this mold is just start at the edges, literally like this, and go around those edges, just for the first couple of layers, because I find that the edges actually bloom the best in this mold. There we go. And then around again. So I've got almost 2 layers of those almost outer petals on this bloom. And then I'm going to try and stop it like that. And then I'm going to just do the standard spiral, starting in the center, going round. Again, not trying to get too much out, so try not to squeeze your bag, but get an even flow. Bit like this. It's not perfect, but I'm just trying to join it all together so it looks natural when it's done. And then just flip up the corner of your bag, and then that can wait for my spare mold. And that's my white pretty much done. In fact, I'm just going to rest it in my dragon mold at the side. So that's the white. I think with this one being quite dark, I'm going to go with blue next, and then have brown more as the central colour. Again, don't know. It's, as I say, it's not a colour scheme I would have picked, but we'll find out. In fact, no, I'm going to go with the brown. I don't know what's telling me, but I'm going to go with the brown next, because it is quite metallic. It's almost like a gold. I think it'll actually look quite nice when it spreads out with that white. So again, just push it down in the bag and give it a twist, and then that should be ready. I do want this slightly thinner than what I used with the white, but not much. So again, just at the end, snipping off the edge, and then it should flow out naturally, which it is doing. Happy with that flow rate. And then I'm going to do the same. So starting here and just trying to get in the edges, really, of where I've just gone. And again, going to try and do 2 layers if I can get away with it. And as I say, they will all intermix. when you pull your petals through anyway, but I just like doing it this way. I just think it gives it a different depth of colour. And those have kind of gone the opposite directions, which I quite like. So that's that. And then the final one is this blue. And it's already starting to try and bloom on the edges. I can see that, which is great. It means that we've probably got the temperature right, and hopefully that means that I won't get too much blobbing. Although there is two big blobs here that I can see that if I don't do something about, may risk blobbing. So I'm just going to pull them out a little bit and to the side, which is that one there. And hopefully that prevents the blobbing. Although sometimes I think when you move it, you're almost risking it more, especially when you do a thin layer. But we'll see. And I'm by no means an expert at this, guys. I'm just somebody that has fun with it, as you've probably seen on the channel, and is still learning the same as you. Now, what I might do with this is actually just try and get on the outside of that gold. It's still blooming away, so hopefully I'm doing it in time for it to mix together. Like so, and then back on in the inside as well, just a tiny little bit now. And as I said, I'm no expert at piping, guys. This is just the way that I've started doing it. And then again, the spiral, I'm going to start this one in the center and pull it round into any gaps that I can see. And even gaps that I can't see. Like so. And this should give us quite a good 3D layered effect, hopefully. And again, just being careful not to go over the mould. And that's that. That is pretty much the bloom done. Now, it's whether I back it or not, I don't know. But I'm just going to torch off any excess bubbles. And we'll find out what it looks like tomorrow. And hopefully we will get that bloom effect. But that's literally all I can do now, apart from putting the petals. So just going to go around it, heat it up a little touch, and then I'm going to draw in those petals. Again, when you're drawing in your petals, you don't want to be touching the base of your mould. You just want to be tickling that surface. So again, I'm going to go from here in. And it almost gives me arrows on this mould where to go in to get almost perfectly even petals. Everywhere those petals come in on the mould is where I go in, and try and go all the way into the centre. And just try and make sure you're getting all of those layers. And this is actually coming out thinner in certain areas than in others. So it's going to be an interesting bloom, this one, if it does bloom. And I say if, because they don't all. And what I like to do is leave these centres as round petals and then go out just from the outskirts of the centre and pull it out like that. And then you almost get two very different forms of petals in the same bloom. And I just think it gives it a more natural effect. Because you're getting different forms of petal on the same flower, which typically in nature I think you usually do. And there we go. I'm not going to swirl this one because I don't want to swirl. I've got those rocks in the center and they will do as a center. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now what I will probably do is in about 4 or 5 hours time, come back and just put a backing on this as well. Just because of the lightness of the colours, I think a dark backing would really make it pop. And hopefully, as I say, we won't get any blobbing, but you never know until the next day. So I hope you've enjoyed it, hope you like the content, and I'll see you tomorrow for demold. Morning, guys, and it's the next morning, so it's still going to be a little bit soft, and I did add a backing to this, just a black, just because I thought that would emphasize whatever bloom effects we've got. But I'm intrigued with this because, as I say, it's those two mystery colors. I'm going to hopefully do another one today. So these were the two colors that I picked, which was the light brown and the almost turquoisey aqua blue at random. They're now in the do not use box, so they won't be used in today's bloom. So it's going to be interesting to see what this one's turned out like. Still a little bit soft because, as I say, this back layer hasn't had the full sort of 24 hours, but I'm going to demold anyway. It feels like it's enough to demold, and we're going to see what it looks like. In fact, no, I'm going to leave this because I don't think it's quite ready, and I've just put a fingerprint. If you can see that, that's when you know it's still not ready to demold, and I don't want to ruin it in case it's got any nice pieces. Now, if you get a fingerprint on, just very lightly with your torch, not too much, go back over the area, and it should get rid of that fingerprint. But that is just a case of me being a little bit premature because it's only been about 12 hours. And the resin that I use for the backing, you're meant to leave it for 24 hours. So I'm going to leave that now, and we'll come back in about probably another 4 or 5 hours, and we'll demold that bloom and see what it looks like. Hey guys, and we're back, and it's probably 4 or 5 hours later, so I think this is pretty safe now to demold, and I'm excited to see what bloom these two micas have made. So I'm hoping you are too. And as I say, if there's any other resin artists out there that want to get involved with this, I think it'd be great to see what results we all get. It's still a little bit soft at the minute, but it's been almost 24 hours since I put that backing on. And I'm just excited to see if it's worked out really. So as you can see, it's still a little bit flexible, but I'm going to put it on a hard surface and let's have a look. And without further ado, if you can do me a favour though, just click that button, like and subscribe to the channel. Wow, that's a little bit strange. So I've got a little bit of blobbing just in the centre, and maybe that was using those crystals again. But apart from that, it hasn't blobbed at all. And I love the detail in those petals that's come from those two colours. That dark, that light brown has actually come out like a golden bronzy colour to me. So I'm happy with it, except for that centre, where it has blobbed a little bit. But apart from that, I think it's a lovely bloom, and a colour combination I probably wouldn't have picked. But let me know if you like it in comments. Let me know what colours you'd like to see next, although I'm going to do it again pretty much as a blind reveal, and pick two random micas again. But again, it's just interesting to see those results, because I think without that blobbing, again, this would be almost a perfect bloom. So absolutely loving that. Let me know if you like it in comments, and I'll see you guys on the next one.